Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Welcome to the show, Heather. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Crystal. How are you?
It's lovely to finally speak with you. I've gotten to photograph you quite a few times now, and I just always love your fashion and your style. And now we finally get to talk about Hallway of Fashion. So tell me more about your brand.
Thanks, Crystal. Yeah, and I've enjoyed the photo shoots immensely, and great job. So thank you. So Hallway Fashion, it began because I would take pictures of a friend's clothes. She was a fashion designer. I would take pictures of her clothes and send her just, the little screenshots. Well, here's how I styled your outfit today. And her executive assistant's like, can you start posting these on Instagram? And I went, what's Instagram? I had no clue. So basically, my friend and I just kind of came up with like, all right, what's an idea to use? I don't really have any place to take photos in my house, that looks like a runway or something, because I was trying to do something with runway. So we came up with Hallway of Fashion. So I take pictures in my hallway.
I love that.
What I wear each day.
That's so funny. In your hall.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it began.
I mean, that's a great name. And also your hallway is a great catwalk. I think it works really well for your fashion. So talk about a little bit.
Thank you.
Your love of Paris. Like, where did that come from? And you're incorporating French fashion, and talk about the love of Paris.
I have been in love with Paris for so long. I really can't even remember like what sparked it, other than I just know in high school I had the chance to we went to Europe with a high school tour. And we sang around in different areas, and we went to Paris and we got to sing in Notre Dame. But I always had that love. And like, I remember getting my passport because I knew I was going to be able to go to Paris. I can remember sitting in my car wearing a red shirt. And I'm like, oh, now I get to go. So it's just been something in me. And when I got there, and this was back in 1984, it felt like home. And every time I come back, it just feels like home. So it's kind of been a little bit of an obsession. And French fashion wise, it's just, seeing the women dressed so well, and so put together. They have a certain style, and je ne sais quoi. And it's been something, I love to look at. I love seeing the fashion magazines, seeing the different styles, different designers, what comes out. And it's just always been something I've loved to look at. And just over the years, kind of emulate, but I'm also very eclectic. So I'm a little bit, I don't know if I follow the French fashion rules so much, but I admire them.
Yeah, and I love how you combine like the French fashion with other things with new and old. And I also loved your blog about, it was all about you and like it showed pictures from when you were here in the 80s and your fashion has evolved.
Yes.
It's such a great story of, just figuring it all out. And how did you find your own style?
I came from a very small town, um, 5,000 people, and always just dreamed of what was out there. And, back in the day, a lot of things were limited. And, you go to the mall and you find some things, and I'd be very matchy matchy. But I also dressed up a lot when I was in high school. I loved the glamour. I was, I didn't really wear a lot of jeans back then. I just found different pieces. And then when I was going off to college, I really started coming into my own because I realized there was a world out there of like vintage clothing and being able to find those different pieces and utilizing even some of my grandfather's clothes. I wore his trench coat to death. It literally fell apart. I was so sad, but I that's kind of how I started doing it. It was just like, what's out there? What can fit me? My weight unfortunately has fluctuated over the years, so I've been up and down. And style sometimes doesn't fit a certain weight, but I worked around that and just try to figure out different things. And the high low, the hard soft, the dressy with the casual. It's always been something I've just enjoyed doing. And it really, I think in college is when I really, really found a way of doing that. And it just grew from there.
So you describe your brand as demystified. Tell me more about fashion demystified.
Yeah, that we came up with that because I think some people that I talk with and they're like, I just don't know how to dress, and you know, I'm like, I can help you. Let's talk about it. Like, what do you want to look like? What do you want to wear? What do you want to be? And I've helped some friends style their wardrobes and find new pieces that kind of reinvigorate. So, it's just a matter of trying to figure out like what somebody wants to wear, how do they want to look, how do they want to feel. And there's no certain rules anymore. I think rules have been since COVID, rules have just been thrown by the wayside, which I think has actually is very liberating, but maybe also a little bit overwhelming for some people because then they were like, oh my gosh, I really don't know what to do. So it's just a matter of like proportions, colors, just figuring out again, like what is your style? What do you want to be? So that's kind of how we came up with that.
And talk about finding your style no matter your age as well.
Yeah, that's another one where the rule book I think has been thrown out. It's more about what do you feel comfortable in and what represents you. Back in the day, they always had this is what you wear at 20s, this is 30s, 40s, 50s. You know, that has really changed over the past few years, and women feel more empowered to wear what they want, no matter what their age. So I think that has been really amazing to see over the years. It's like, you're over 50. Oh, you can't wear skinny jeans. You can't wear a tight fitting top. You can't wear, long hair. So that has been kind of wonderful to see change over the past few years because pretty much now when what I wear to work, I'm like, it's what makes me feel good as long as I'm not showing up in a cocktail dress or anything like that. But some of my fashions can be a little bit out there, but it also um it's fun for the people that see me too. Because I get some of the days when I wear something really like maybe a little bit further out than the norm for a corporate world, everybody really reacts to it. So I think that's made it a lot more fun just to be yourself no matter what age.
Yeah, and I like how you're not afraid to explore those boundaries.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely things that I wouldn't wear, not because of my age necessarily, just because it's not my style. I like a good crop top, but I like something always under it. I always wear something tight fitting underneath and wear like a midriff, but it's not, you're never going to see my bare skin under a crop top because that's just not me. It has never been me. Maybe once in high school, but even then I felt very uncomfortable. So again, it just kind of depends on what makes you feel comfortable and what your style wants to be.
And talk about how you combine the new and old. You mentioned wearing your grandfather's clothes, you go thrifting in Paris. Talk more about that.
Yeah, it's just something I always he had my grandfather was very stylish. And had some great trench coats and great blazers. I also had some of his blazers, they were those shark skin, 50s blazers and stuff. And I'm like, can I have them? And he's like, yeah, so I always mix that with like my modern day jeans or any kind of pants or skirts that I was wearing. And I just carried that on. And then I've always loved finding vintage clothes and just like what can I mix to make it look a little bit more modern. I've done the whole like okay, we'll do the whole decade look, like everything from the 50s. Let's opera coat, the big poofy dress, the flats, the hat. But I think it gives you a little bit more interest and doesn't look like a costume when you mix it up. I got a Bob Mackie jacket. It's really cool. And I just mix it with jeans. I mean, it's like full on, satin with beads and stuff. But I'm like, it just kind of put on a tank top, put some jeans on and put that over it and just some boots and, go out and have fun. Same thing with like mixing. Now the big thing is, and I've really gotten into it just because I love music, is mixing concert tees with your blazers and dressing up and things like that. And I did that quite a few times this week as I went and saw uh, a lot of concerts over the past week. So each night was a different concert tee.
I love that. That's such a great idea how you can combine those two things and talk a little bit about some of your favorite places to shop for vintage clothing in Paris.
Oh man. Thanks God I'm a VIP is my favorite, one of my favorites. The what's amazing about that place, they have a wide variety of prices. So it's not all high end and it's, so you can go in there and find different things, but I love it's color coded. It's U-shaped and it's literally starts out with one color and it just goes throughout the whole shop into the different color ranges. So if you're looking for black, the black's all together. If you're looking for yellow, the yellow's all together. So I think that's a cool way that they have styled that. Plus, they are so helpful there. That's one of the reasons I love going there. And then there's another little vintage store right next door, and I'm forgetting their name. Oh, I'll have to give that to you. But there's literally one right next door to it. Another one is En Voiture Simone, and that's in the Marais. It's a small shop, but it's got some really cool pieces. And I got a Biblos pleated skirt there that was just it's amazing. Love that. So yeah, I like there, and then just hitting the different brocants and the flea market. The flea market at like the Marsh, the Puce area, that is a little bit more high end, but you can still kind of find some good pieces in the mix too. But if you're really wanting like high end, Yves Saint Laurent, Dior, Chanel, that's a good place to go check out. And I'll give you some addresses. It's the Marche Vernaison is where I usually start when I go there. And then I just try to hit different stores. Like I try to explore and find new stores every time I go. So the list is always increasing. And then another one that I like right is Pom Pom. Um, he's very he's got some really cool pieces that go back to like Edwardian times and before. I think he even had something from like the revolutionary times, French revolutionary times. So just very cool and so knowledgeable. And just love going there and just chatting with him. So those are a few of the favorites.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many great places and we'll definitely share all that in the show notes. It'd be nice for people to know about when they visit. And what about for women who are struggling like with the sizing in Paris? I know a lot of times it's just for the super petite here. Are there any places you recommend that have more sizing options?
Um, like there's different stores that you can go to. Sizing can be always tricky. I've gotten a little bit bigger over the years. Again, what's really good to do, and I recommend, is knowing your measurements and taking a tape measure with you. Because if you know your measurements and you can add +2 inches, or what you're like for a blazer, for me, it fit like 21 inches. I know that's pretty much going to fit. Waist size, I need something that's like 30 inches. So if you know those, you don't even always have to try on. So you can still find some good things at the brocants and the flea markets. It's a little bit more hunting. But I haven't really shopped at any of the new stores. There's one store I like, Natalie Garcon. She's got a shop in the Gallery Vivian, and she repurposes and makes different clothes and upcycles. And she's got a wide variety of sizes there. But yeah, sorry, I'm not sure. I haven't really shopped too much new. I know there's Maj, Maje, and they have a variety of sizes. But yeah, I like shopping old. So
Yeah, definitely. And it's all about just going through and seeing what you find, especially when you're thrifting.
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of those kilo shops probably have a wide variety of clothes too, and those are fun because you shop by the kilo, literally. So it tells you on the tag how much it is per kilo. And so you can get a lot of clothes and find a lot of things in those shops. They have so many clothes and like floors and floors. There's like 3 stories worth of secondhand clothes. And that's the other thing. Not everything's vintage. Some of it's secondhand. It could be within the last 10 years. So that's really great. So I think you're seeing a little bit more probably size inclusivity in more of like those kilo shops where it's not necessarily vintage, but more secondhand or thrifted in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have more variety and sizing there. And talk a little bit about some advice you would give for women searching for their own unique style, like they don't know what to wear, where to start. Like, what advice do you have?
Yeah, for me, it's like I love looking at Instagram, and I, start looking there. I've also used Pinterest, in the past, but on Instagram, what I do, I find somebody whose style I like, and I start following them and looking and seeing like, okay, what pieces of theirs do I really like? Could I incorporate? You don't necessarily want to be head to toe, but that's kind of it. And also looking at like even the, actresses and Vogue and looking in the different magazines, seeing what somebody has and being able to emulate that, but not necessarily copy. Because I follow women of all different sizes since I have been all different sizes. And I want to see what they do and how they dress as well. And the good thing about like in the States for sure, at the Goodwills and the charity shops, the sizes range all over the place. So again, you don't really have to, go to a brand name store necessarily, where you might be able to find some things at like a Goodwill or a Salvation Army or a charity shop.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive, as you mentioned on your blog.
Yeah, definitely. I've gotten some great pieces for $6. And I'm like, so much bang for their buck. Um, it's amazing what you can find when you go thrifting. Um, I literally found, I mean, it wasn't cheap necessarily, but compared to what the prices are for a Burberry coat, I got one for $80, and it had all the lining, it had the wool attachment for the collar, it had the belt, it had everything. So, you know, you can see what you like and then kind of go to the Goodwills and see there's probably something there that you find. And it doesn't have to be brand name or anything. And that's the other thing. I mean, I buy some brand name pieces, but a lot of times I'm like, I just go for what interests me. It doesn't have to be a brand name. I look for quality of the material, uh, and does it fit right? Does it feel good? Does it breathe? Breathability is a huge thing with some of the fabrics. If you get something that's, you know, a cheaper made, it might not breathe so well, and you're going to be sweating. So that's, but you can find so many things and make an outfit for, $20, $30, $50. It just depends on what the pieces are and where you want to go.
That's so true. And what's something you wish more people knew about vintage shopping? Like, what's something you think people don't really realize about vintage fashion?
Vintage fashion definitely is the quality. The pieces that you get from even the 90s are better quality than what is being made today in a lot of fast fashion realm. So that's why I like shopping secondhand and thrifting and vintage, is because I can usually find pieces that have much better quality than today. Not that I don't shop necessarily new either. It just kind of depends on, like, shoes are hard to find in vintage because I have larger feet. So that's usually something that don't find too much. Occasionally I do. But even vintage jewelry is gorgeous. You can find some beautiful pieces from like the 50s, 60s, and now Kenneth J. Lane, Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers made great jewelry for QVC. I'm a QVC aholic. So you can find all sorts of different things out there. Out there, I call it in the wild. And it doesn't always have to be something new and, um, you know, chasing the latest trend. And even then, again, if there is a trend, you can probably find something that was designed 20, 30 years ago that's the same trend because it's all cyclical.
Yeah, definitely. Fashion goes in cycles, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, like the 70s did the 30s, the 80s did the 40s. It literally, there's always a reference back to a different time. It's just, it always goes, and you'll see some of the same things. You're like, huh, that looks very similar. And then you find a picture from the 50s. I'm like, yep, that's actually the same, same dress style. So it is amazing, but I love how, again, there's a trend, but I'm like, but there was something probably that sparked it fast.
And talk a little bit about your pro tips for thrifting and shopping the markets in Paris.
Yeah, awesome. So again, tape measure is your friend. Because a lot of times when you're out thrifting, there might not be a dressing room, limited dressing rooms, or it's cold. One time I went to the flea market in Paris and it was, I think, like 30 degrees. So getting undressed to try something on just was not something I wanted to do. So knowing your measurements, taking a tape measure, always have a bag with you as well. So, because sometimes they don't have bags and you don't want to be carrying things around with you. Um, Crossbody bags, those are really good. And if possible, how I also, if you do want to try something on without getting undressed, I always recommend wearing, if you can possibly wear a tank top, some skinny jeans or leggings, something that you still have clothes on, But if you take off your top, you've got the tank top underneath, you can try on another top over it, you can try on a blazer, you can try on a dress. I've been very lucky and figured that out a while ago, because I'm like, well, I can't put on this dress now because I'm like, there's nothing, nowhere to change. So that has become my standard. I made the mistake of wearing a skirt one time. I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So that's kind of how I dress, and just make sure, um, cash cash is king. Even in France, that's a much smoother transaction. You might be able to get a few euros or dollars off, as well. So yeah, so those are some of my tips and tricks.
Definitely. Those are great tips. And how would you define creativity in your own words?
So I've been thinking about this because I know you ask this for every guest. I think creativity is an expression of whatever makes you happy, whatever brings you joy. And it doesn't have to necessarily be artistic related. It can be anything. I mean, when I was growing up, we used to do a lot of arts and crafts, and it was great. I would stencil on clothes. I would embroider on clothes. I would make paintings. My One of my best Christmas gifts was an easel, from Santa Claus, so I could draw. But also people developing a new process, you know, something even IT related. I mean, there's always something. You have to have a spark, and you know just because it's not art related, it's still creative because your mind is at work and it's like, let me figure this out and let me see what I can create in that sense. So I think it can be anything, but if it brings you joy and gives you a sense of accomplishment, whether it's for money or for just for fun, that's what creativity means to me.
Definitely. I think that's a great explanation. It can be different for everybody. And talk about some new projects you're excited to share.
The blog is new. I'm still working on that. Basically just trying to get the blog out there, getting it growing. So that is something kind of new. I've got some ideas, just I haven't gotten to that next step yet, since it's all new and I still have a full-time job. Uh, just I'm just waiting to see what kind of comes organically, what opportunities that I can manifest out. Don't have anything set in concrete. So it's all kind of out in the ether.
I love that. You're just going with the flow.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah.
And where can people connect with you online and learn more about Hallway of Fashion?
I've got my Instagram handle is Hallway of Fashion, and my website is hallwayoffashion.com.
Pretty easy to spell, guys. We'll share all that in the show notes too. And definitely check out her Instagram and her website. She's always sharing new outfits, new ideas. It's such a great place for inspiration. And
Yeah,
thanks.
and oh, sorry, Crystal.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, if DM me, reach out to me if you want to chat about fashion or anything that we talked about today about how to style or find your size and find what works for you.
Yeah, definitely. It's always fun to share that passion and definitely check her out, guys. We will share that once again. And thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you, Crystal. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.